But tonight we have to have the light on for 20 minutes or so, and turn it off as soon as
They started knocking.
the meditation starts.
Remember those people that would just scare you on Halloween and they never had candy? And then they, ah! Did you ever have that? It was trick or treat. So the trick would be they'd scare you before you get candy. Did you ever get that?
Well, we don't do trick or treat in Ireland.
Really?
You go door to door, but I was telling Greg, you have to do a party piece performance to get anything. And you don't just show up and they say, here you go, candy. When you come to the door, my friends and I would meet and rehearse for days beforehand, and you have to sing or do a dance or do something. It has to be good enough for them. You just, like, they critique you. And I remember, like, no, that wasn't good enough. You're not getting anything. You shut the door and Irish Idol. That'd be a little bit of a read.
Would they ever say something like, nah, I'm not going to validate it?
But so generally, you know, they would say, like, you know, go ahead, do your thing. I mean, you would not go to a doorway and just, like, put out your thing and hope for stuff.
You know how they do it in Iowa? I've never, just being raised in Hermosa, I never thought it was like this. In this small little town, all the kids put on their costumes, they go to the end of the driveway with the bag, and the farmers drive and drop candy in their bag.
Do you drive by the house?
Yeah, the farmers drive up and down the road, because the houses are like a mile apart.
Right, right. And the other thing we do at Halloween there is we have big bonfires.
Yeah.
Every neighborhood collects like old tires and has this huge bonfire. There's competition now. Still there's bonfire there now. Use tires on there.
I wonder if they're still doing that. That's kind of rubber.
Oh, I mean, you should see it. The smoke, and of course you go play there the next day. We would come home just thinking of it stuff. We'd go and put potatoes in there and roast them up the next day, and the embers of the fire, you just like rubber tire.
And then you know?
Sure.
Huh?
Yeah, barbecue potatoes in
That's
there.
good. Rubber
It's a little
potatoes.
different. The costume thing still goes on.
If this is Steve wearing this shown costume,
Yeah.
this is
It's pretty good, huh?
That's all I can say. Remarkable work.
Must be the way it's doing. Yeah.
See how light it is for trick-or-treating people. You brought for apples.
Yeah, we do it in Honolulu.
I just wonder
Pineapple
if
pies.
some of the games are probably similar. Yeah, okay, so at least there's a lot of that similar stuff.
Then you have this spooky thing where you put your hand in it and you got to figure out what it is.
Will I do that? Hi.
It's the haunted house.
I saw you there.
Then you grab some spaghetti,
I saw you.
goo or pudding.
Oh, really? You were there?
It's kind of sad because when we were kids, we could go and do mayhem or whatever we wanted to. But now, like parents will not
I
let
just
their kids.
We drop in there. And
What about
takes us
men have
to
teachers? They doing that too?
And they sit them over here.
When I was growing up, they always, it's a park where they have the hometown fair.
Bring them there and
Like baseball diamonds, they always have a big, huge,
Nice.
like a full flag,
No, I
on
always
the
have
pole,
there.
three sun. I think
I don't know. Is that right?
you would know out of.
Where did she go?
If it doesn't
And
mean
you
must
know,
be shared, no.
come away from
Really?
this night with no kids, because trick-or-treating.
My other focus.
I'm trying to leave, and he knows I'm trying to leave.
I think when you start advertising in your magazine.
He kept catching me kind of what
Or
we
you
were
just
doing.
kind of,
Yeah,
You can try it. I'll put in a word. I have no idea. I doubt it, but I'd be glad to have it.
I was swearing my own, everybody knows it.
What's your name? This one's yours? I'm looking to move down here. I'm looking at real estate actually today. And it's been an hour. I would love to live in Hermosa Beach. There's not one thing on the market.
I was out there saying,
That's right. It's pretty high, but it's clearly not even remotely high.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's got a Scotch county.
On some streets, it's good. Not at the street.
South Orlando appears to be my target.
Well, that's nice. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
This is a great group. This is the best group I've ever been in my whole life. Yeah. That's one for us.
How was Cincinnati?
This is the best group you've ever had, Lee. But I've been. Keep doing whatever you
Oh, like these children, don't ask them to choose.
do.
All his groups.
He just out pictures.
Actually, I'm just shit.
Brady flying solo tonight? No family members anywhere? Oh, she's just parking. She's home. Yeah. Yeah. This is last class. No, we did actually, the other one was last year and everything. She's taking one of those, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, yeah, I did, for some reason, I yeah,
Yeah, I guess it is last.
yeah, it's not really hard, it's like studio, to the new people, it's like, let's worry about it, just try. Go back to that class. I told her everything.
You're going to come study again, and you know, I teach the day
Yeah.
last year.
Oh,
Like I was
Yeah, totally.
but that was just good for me.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
For what I was saying yesterday, he's going to football.
Are you gonna be there this weekend?
Yeah, actually, yeah, on a Saturday.
Right.
I can be there, so I can just go on Saturday.
No, I don't anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I want to come Saturday or something, Wednesday.
Right.
I could be there either day if you want to come in. I mean, looking to move down there, so it's going to be a lot easier.
You live in the valley? Have you lived in Austin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we do a lot of like so good at
Are you looking for
great.
You live in the valley?
So, the flexibility and strength is just like. Yeah, I'm not married to it. I mean, I would go.
I haven't
to the
taken
if I had to, but I haven't gone that far yet. Well, I love
Right, and, there's like 3 more people left, so social lessons.
Nice. There's a bunch. So,
Right, and then,
be a lot.
they can hear,
There's more departments there and.
yeah, I need
Yeah, I mean, in the valley.
No, I'm not a meditation or anything.
What is here for $900,000 or $1 million is getting that all day now.
Today?
Yeah.
Ah, great.
And I stopped when it said, so
Things are going so good in the office.
kind of right now, I kind of understand yeah. Looking at our person.
Right, and you get more, you actually get more three-dimensional, because you don't need nothing value, you know.
That travel a lot. A lot.
Yeah.
I just kind of, well, it's not, I think you about it work. It's just, just hear some vowels, hear some up, and then it just goes on and on. So. She used to be my boss until I think it's, now she and I have the same boss later on, but yeah, it's a later. I was freelance for years, and I took the job because I freelance big time for her, so she got kind of a sign job. I didn't know her, and we just completely fell in love with each other. Like, I asked her, like, on the third day of sitting in a room working on this project with her, I was like, I really admire your spiritual program, and she was like, no, but it's not that kind of atmosphere. We like go bang about it. You're supposed to And she was, what are you talking about? And I was like, come on. Sell it. And then we were just friends. Like, it was really honestly, she was treating me like a sponsee. And I was talking about something. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
You didn't know you were figured it out.
I was doing a freelance job forever for her, and then finally at the end of it, she was like, okay, now you come to work.
Right.
And they were kind of work full-time after 12 years of freelance.
Right.
And I said, okay. I said, so, getting code guys well. Seems pretty clear in this case, and it's been great. I love it.
You mentioned it one day about giving the meeting about
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because, well, that was in Chicago too, so we got to travel and have fun there. Which was a good time there.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big company,
Yeah.
You can tell each other, you can sort of share notes.
Right.
Did you speak to your life?
I think I loved so much that I had to grab it right away.
How are the market? How things going? How does
There's not a lot on the market.
it really low?
Yeah, pretty low inventory. And the prices, things are sitting like a little lower. I just looked at, yeah, exactly. I just looked at something that was like 980, but it's huge. It's 2,600 square feet. It was a little run down, but not too bad. I was just finding Americans that stuff. It was right by the beach.
What beach?
We're down in the big south. It's like right by the, if I said the name of it, you would know, but it's a place you walk to that everybody wants to go.
Oh, the
It's Esplanade. Okay, whatever. I don't know the area well enough to know. I have to walk around. It's kind of like that.
You want to be on the way, just told you this.
I'm not sure, I think so. I need to come back like 2 more times. That was too pricey for me. I know. New. But higher than.
You'd have to go inland.
Yeah, a little bit. A little quieter inland though.
Yeah, right next to the gang members.
I looked at one thing over there, but it took up the whole lot. It was, it was like 9. It was new.
New, you know, they have nothing else to do in a year, and then maybe just get news or 80 times, and now I've heard, he finished his dad goes and found out, and maybe he said they're going
See his dad's office there, like around the
Yeah,
because that's not a name that runs into very often. It's 3 people with that name.
Yeah, brother and son.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they were, I mean, they were really good kids. Before we got married, I was like, they're like,
Right.
And I'm just watching those 2 things right now. One of them I was going to go on vacation in a week, but I also just want to
It was on the beach.
I heard Chicago. It hasn't been there for a while. I heard Chicago. You better talk about 3 days.
And I'm going to do a vacation rental, so it's going to be like half a year. It's not wood, it's going to be rented out.
No, I'm not listening. We're talking.
Yeah. Yeah, we got this
Or charging. We were trying to get that, Jesse. We were trying to figure that one out. It was Chicago brand. On yours.
The generic.
Yeah. Our old house.
So we were just watching Scary Movie too. My sister let us a copy. It's so stupid. Yeah.
You want to know something? Not another thing. You ever see that?
No.
There's a guy slow class through the whole thing.
Genie? I know. Oh, really? But.
You know how factors are.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I've never seen any of this scary movie. My sister loved it.
You know what I mean? 'Cause I know I'm not.
It's funny,
If I want
but
to
it's
know
so stupid, it's funny.
You have to see all the other movies. So you get the joke.
Yeah.
Only Darkness Straight.
I have a good eye. I've never bought something in good shape. Always
I can't count numbers.
I have a good eye, but I don't have the one.
Is it a girl movie?
Right.
Does anyone die? Is there a
Oh,
fire?
that's great. I didn't know, I thought he was pretty highly financed.
Is he died?
light off, John, while you're out there, would you? Turn the light off outside. Thanks. I guess everybody else is out getting hypnotized, huh? So how do you do on the flashcard? Most of you substituted the word hypnosis, which I think is a good choice. You can use that from now on. The flashcard then becomes everything I see is hypnotism, or everything I see is hypnosis. Who had any experiences with that? How did you do with that?
I have a question about what you said. So why do you think it's better to substitute that, or how did some people come up with that? They just decided on their own.
I don't know. It struck me as a better word because it's a more common word for us in carnal mind, and it's because we used it in the book. So that was why I thought it might be a better word.
So it's whatever it would relate to, basically.
As long as it means hypnosis or carnal mind, yeah.
I chose hypnosis because I watched this show where this guy on the street hypnotizes people into believing they're something that they're not and seeing things that they're not, and then he just goes like this and it's gone. And so for me, it just made a lot of sense. But that's why I just chose that word, because Lee gave us a whole set of different ideas. But the place where I have the most difficulty with Brady and I were talking about how intellectually we understand this, and obviously going from here to here is huge. It's a long, long path. The part that I have really a hard time even, I don't want to say believing, I don't know what the word, but knowing that it's hypnosis is when it comes to anything physical in my body. It's a very difficult place for me. And I know that's the healing consciousness that is involved in that. And it's a place where I'd really like to know the truth. I was just sitting there tonight, like just kind of having the appearance of allergies and not feeling well and this and that. And it's like once that thought even enters my mind, or I look down and I can see a tiny rash or something, it's like anything I'm trying to work on is just, it just is gone. It's like too late. And so that's where I find it very even difficult, really difficult to.
You're way late.
I know, that's what I said. The minute I look down and I say a rash, I'm way late.
Way late then, even.
Way late after the rash is there?
The idea that you have an arm is hypnotism.
So how do you separate from the physical? It's like a physical feeling. I mean, I can look out there and it's very difficult for me. That's what I've been working on.
So what does hypnotism mean? Let's go back. Let's attack this at the bottom. What does it mean? What does it mean everything I see is hypnotism? What does that mean? Including cats.
The five senses, anything that's tangible.
Yes.
Third dimension. Mass belief in a third dimension.
And we talked about in the book material, mental, and spiritual. Okay? So, what part of that is hypnotism? The material, the mental, or the spiritual?
All three.
Or all three? No, spiritual is reality.
Well, material and mental, then. But
Hypnotism, at the first level, is, and the hypnotism that we're so deeply hypnotized into is believing that there is a material world, that there is a material reality. Okay, and that's what we're talking about, the five senses. As he says, the five sense input. Everything I see is hypnotism. Okay? And at the first level, we're talking about the hypnosis that there is a physical reality. That's real and physical and external to me. So it's material consciousness. Is the first level. Now, So if there's not a material consciousness, we have to move up to the mental level, okay? So instead of there being a real cat, there's a image of the cat in mind, okay? That's mental consciousness. So material reality is not a reality, but in fact it's an image in my mind, and that everything I see materially is really an image in my mind. And we talked about that back when we were reading the book. I mean, you can't prove that's not true, even if you believe there really is a material world. You know, I mean, everything you see is neurons firing around in your brain. If you believe in brains and if you believe in cats and all that sort of stuff, nonetheless, I don't see what's out there. I mean, light has to bounce off the cat and hit my retina and get converted then on the retina into electrical impulses and go up to my brain into some sort of an optical center, and the optical center has to see all these impulses flying around, and it's got to convert it back into some image and say cat, you know. And I mean, so whatever's going on is in my brain. You know, cat is not out there, it's in my brain, and I can go to sleep tonight and dream about my cat, okay? And that dream to the dream will have the same reality. So we can easily address the question of hypnosis at that level. That it's not really that really, if you buy metaphysics, the hell with mysticism, if you buy metaphysics, then you believe that it's all mental, and that matter is just one form of mind. Okay? So now I ask you the question, is that image of your body in your mind real?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's the question.
It feels...
No, I'm not saying is it material.
Right.
I'm saying is the image in your mind real?
Well, it appears to be.
Yeah.
It appears to change and to get rashes. It appears to be that way. And
So what's its relationship? What's this body that gets rashes and appears to change? What's the relationship of that body to reality, the spiritual reality?
well, Robert, you would say I don't even have a body, so
Yeah, but I'm not asking what Robert would say. What's the relationship of what you're seeing? I mean, is it totally manufactured and has no relationship to anything at all?
that's what I believe,
Or is it
and that's my manifesting. It comes from
it's what you believe? Huh?
what I believe.
But is there any relationship at all to, is there a spiritual reality? Joel says, for instance, expect harmony.
Okay.
Is there something that's harmonious? Is there a harmonious reality?
This is where it gets really confused. Yeah, I'm really confused.
Yeah, that's why
It just feels like I have a rash. I know where you're going with it. It's just, you know, and I guess it's one of those things that I just can't grasp the ungraspable. I guess that's what I'm feeling. When you're talking at that level, there's something I can't figure out because I guess I'm not supposed to figure it out.
And like, what do you do? I mean, for me, when I'm experiencing that discomfort, what do I do?
I'm not suggesting that you do anything or not do anything.
Do you experience
You're
trying to get
It's hard to explain. Yes.
I know what you're saying. Of course, we all experience our bodies. I felt that. I mean, we all experience our bodies. I'm asking you, I'm the flashcard is that everything I see is hypnosis. And the purpose of flashcards is to deprogram us from the belief that there's a physical reality to the, and it's not going to work in a week or in a month, but the idea is to start deprogramming the conditioning that there is a body that can get a rash. Joel would certainly say that there is a body, okay? That Joel would say there is a a creation. Let's go back. There is a creation. That what is expressed itself. Okay? And it expressed itself in mind. Okay? Because mind is the tool within which things get expressed. Because along with mind comes time and space and stuff like that. So we can talk about it expressing in mind. But the expression of what is an expression of eternal harmony. Okay? So this is where Joel talks about the spiritual reality is one of eternality and one of harmony and perfection. I heard a great quote from Joel, appropriate to this. Joel says, your world is what you're recognizing. There is no sickness, no lack, no disease, no death, no limitation, no sin out there. All of that lies in the veil, which is your thought. What's in your mind is the veil, okay? Now, let's think about that. So, he's saying we're seeing the veil. We're not seeing the reality, okay? And so the question is, if there is this harmonious body, God's body, if you want to call it that, or whatever the hell body means in spiritual things, but yeah, I mean, Joel insists, and everybody insists that we do have a spiritual body. It's just not this physical body that we have. The form has body, but form is spiritual. So, what are we seeing? If you're not seeing your spiritual body, what are you seeing?
My concept of a body.
Bingo. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing our concepts of bodies as determined by human consciousness, which is the great hypnotizer. Okay? So in human consciousness, in the 6 billion, is this concept of 2 arms and 2 legs and hair and what have you, and materiality and physical bodies. And that's omnipresently here and hypnotizing us. And he could as easily have said, in the same context, there's no life, there's no abundance, there's no health, there's no life, there's no lack of limitation, and there's no wellness out there. Okay? He could have said those things too, in the sense that he's saying, in the sense that we think there's death and lack and sin. You know. I was watching the sunset tonight. Gorgeous sunset. Hypnosis. There's no sun out there setting. Right? There's no out there. It's a concept in mind. Now, maybe fairly, it certainly is a concept of something in creation. Okay? And it's pretty harmonious, and it's also, we have lots of reasons to think it bears some fairly legitimate representationalness of creation, because we can't, whereas we can heal and get rid of and cause sickness to disappear, we certainly can't use our minds to change the time of sunset or sunrise. That seems to be fixed, yeah.
I just wanted to share an aha. So I like to call it Eureka. You see a rash.
Right.
So what I do is I go, well, there should be a rash, so I'll just outpicture not a rash. But then the false belief is, oh, there's the arm. So it's like, it's not about the sickness. It's about the concept. The false belief.
And when he just said, oh, there's not a rash, you picturing that is too late already. Once I'm believing any of it, it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that you think you have an arm that could have a rash.
I don't know.
I mean, the fundamental problem is the belief in arms and rashes. Okay?
And where that hit me was when I had pneumonia, and I was on an airplane at 30,000 feet on this prescription drug, and the airplane did the, whatever it does when it is the turbulence. And I was doing, what's it called when you're doing the, I'm not body, I'm not consciousness. What is it? There's a word for it anyhow. And I was very clear that none of this was even happening. I wasn't on a plane. I wasn't in my body. I didn't have a disease. But all of this was happening as a dream, as my story that I was writing. I could put a wrap on my arm, but it didn't matter. So that's pretty cool.
So the fundamental lie is that there's anything material to begin with, okay? But nonetheless, that's the dream we're dreaming right now. And even if you wake up, you still get to see bodies. You just don't. The difference between Robert and you is that Robert saw his body and acknowledged that he couldn't possibly teach classes if he didn't, see what we see and react the way we react and everything. But he never for a second believed that that was him. He always knew that was a dream. Okay. Now, with respect to healing, I really want to turn this into a healing class, but all right, when I see your body, okay, what am I seeing? Actually, there's lots of things at work here. There's the human concept of body, a female body, okay? And there's your concept of your body, because you are the one that determines what it is that you are conceiving of it as your body this lifetime, okay? So I see that. And on top of that, then I also see my concept of your concept of your body, okay? So there's my concept of your concept of human consciousness concept of young female body. And
Wait, my concept or the human concept, or same thing?
there's the human concept, but you bought the dream, so you have to manufacture yourself a body that conforms to the five senses type thing. So you have to manufacture yourself this image. I mean, since you're coming in here and playing this silly game, you have to manufacture yourself this five senses body, okay? And so you do so, but then I also have my concepts on top of that, so I overlay that with my concepts, okay? Now, but the reality is that Jesse is an impersonal spiritual being having a human experience, okay? And that being that she is eternal and harmonious. And any of these things we see about death or disease or anything like that is purely a human concept. It doesn't exist in reality. And so it's purely a mental construct. It's a mental picture, and mind is the substance of that. And that can be changed. And it can be changed through mental healing by having a stronger mind than hers. But it can also be changed spiritually, the way Joel did it, by realizing the truth. By stopping throwing any concept on that at all. And even if we stop drawing any concept on that at all, we will still be playing the 3D game and we'll still be in the dream, but the picture will be harmonious. And that was what Joel did. Joel would divorce, he would take the rash and he would immediately forget that well, he would impersonalize it, first of all. First thing he would say is that there's nothing in you that causes that rash, it's human consciousness, Okay, and it is. That's the hypnosis. The rash is the primary case of hypnosis. The body itself is hypnosis at one level, but let's just deal with the getting bad level. The rash is human consciousness's belief that you can get rashes. Okay? If no one in all of humanity believed in rashes, nobody would have a rash. They would disappear just like that. Because it's the belief in rashes that allows rashes to be. Because we're manufacturing these concepts, okay? There's no reality to it, it's just a concept. And if nobody in human consciousness, no person believed in AIDS, there would be no AIDS. If no person believed in measles, there would be no measles. If no person believed in rashes, there would be no rashes, okay? All right, so Joel would immediately back it off from you into human consciousness and say that's just a human consciousness belief. It's not hers, it's impersonal, okay? Now the next thing he would do is he would say, and human consciousness has no power in the presence of an enlightened consciousness. An enlightened consciousness which knows the truth will not accept the human consciousness belief in rash. Okay? So he would say that in the presence of an enlightened consciousness, the human consciousness belief in rash has no power. And that's the second step. That's his second step.
That's not real.
Which he calls nothing eyes, okay?
Okay.
And Joel would get high enough that he would not see rash. Joel would know the truth, and he would not see rash. He would know there was no rash. He would know clearly that he would see who you really were. And maybe not with his eyes, but certainly in his consciousness, and possibly with his eyes. But you're still driving, because it's your body, okay, and you're the one that's primarily in charge of manifesting. If you had manifesting what's appearing, but if you had aligned your consciousness with Joel's by asking him for a healing, if you had, aligned yourself with Joel's consciousness, then when Joel lifted himself to the place where he didn't see disease, where he knew there was no disease, you too would get lifted to the place where you knew there was no disease. And there would be no disease, because you're in charge of manifesting your body, essentially, okay? And that would be the instantaneous healing. Or it would be a slow one, depending on the extent to which you were aligned with Joel and the extent to which you were receptive to that type of consciousness and the extent to which you were not clinging to the rash for some reason.
So his consciousness could rise above that of millions of people who believe the lie.
Well, I mean, he didn't clean up every rash in the world.
No, but
he cleaned up
at that moment, with that...
At that moment, he didn't believe in a rash. He didn't have to erase 6 billion beliefs in rash. He didn't believe in a rash, and if you had aligned your consciousness with him, neither did you.
You're receptive.
Yeah, if you were receptive because you'd asked him for a healing and believed that it would happen, then you would be lifted to the point where you didn't have the rash either. Now, there might be 2 billion other people out there that have rashes that still have rashes because they were not aligned with him. He's not cleaning up rashes, but he's cleaning up his belief in rash. He's not even cleaning up your belief in rash. He's cleaning up his belief in rash. And if you happen to be aligned with him and receptive, you will get lifted there. And he can do that at 12,000 miles as easily as across the room because his consciousness was high enough that it was exhibiting omnipresence. So you could get the healing in Hawaii or Pakistan.
We have a question.
She has a question.
I know.
I just realized I have a little confusion. Lots of ones, but one was because I know in Hawaii when the natives saw, they didn't see the ship out on the water because they had no concept of a boat until the shaman told them it was a ship. But before that point, the ship didn't disappear. Before they knew, it was in the water, and then they saw it. So I guess the way that translates here, it because I don't believe or believe in something, I'm having a hard time understanding how it could disappear.
But couldn't if it were real?
To whom does the ship appear?
It couldn't if it were
Was
real.
the ship real?
No. There's no such thing as ship. It's just a mental image. You're just talking about who sees it and who doesn't. It's all in mind.
They weren't hypnotized until the shaman went, hey, look at
So if the shaman didn't say it was there, then nobody would have seen it, and that would have,
Well, they wouldn't have seen it, but does that mean that's gone?
but would never have.
it never was there.
It's not a parallel case. I mean, that's a different philosophical question. Because we're talking, I mean, the mind of the native is not the mind that's manifesting those ships. Okay, let's use the word manifest or out picturing. The mind of the native is not out picturing those ships, and the fact that they couldn't see it has no effect on whether or not the people on the boat were out picturing ships. Okay, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about things personal like my body. Okay.
I may be silly.
I'm trying to be.
In the sense that the reality of the ship is exactly equivalent to the reality of your body at all, okay? But we're talking about, whether or not you're seeing rashes. And the fact is that once, if those guys had been out in their canoes and ran into the ship, they would have then seen it, okay? But the fact is that they didn't have that concept in their head, and so they didn't see it. It's a different issue.
Yeah.
And if you get into quantum mechanics, it wasn't there until they saw it. It's the observation that manifests. Observation of it that manifests it. Which makes sense, since it's all in mind. If nobody's observing it, if nobody's conscious of it, does it exist? If everything is in consciousness, and no one is conscious of something, including the consciousness, how can there be something in consciousness that is not, of which no one or nothing is conscious? It really is. Go to your dreams at night. Everything that happens in your dream is what you're conscious of in your dream, and anything you're not conscious of in your dream at any particular instant is not there. So if during your dream you're conscious of a ship, and then during your dream you look up at the sky and see the ship, now is that, look up at the sky and see an airplane and you're conscious of the airplane, is the ship still there when you're not looking at it? No, it never was there. If you're not conscious of it, though, it certainly is not in your consciousness. So you see that there's no reality to it at lots of different levels. But, what we're dealing with, back to Diane's point, it's at two levels. Either you have a body of hypnosis, but more specifically, the one that's useful to us while we're playing this silly Leelaa. The point that's useful to us is that what we see, the concepts we have, may be entirely human consciousness created, or they may be reflections of God's creation. What is His creation? Okay? In the sense that the universe, there are lots of laws, physical laws, that we can't vary. by going into meditation or by applying the strength of mind or stuff like that. We can't, like I say, change the tides. We can't change sunrise and sunset. We can't change stars. We can't do anything like that. That reflects a level of reality, if you'll let me use this word, because we're rather limited in vocabulary. But, you know, the motion of stars and planets reflects a level of reality that is quite different than rashes on your skin, because mind can make rashes on your skin go away, and mind can make and spiritual, you know, rising in spiritual consciousness can make rashes on your skin go away, but mind and rising in spiritual consciousness is not going to make the moon go the other direction around the world or something. Okay, that can't happen. Okay, so in some sense, some of it is realer than other things in the sense that it's reflecting a law of what is. But it's still not real. There are no planets. But there is something. And that we are seeing that there is something of which our concept is planet. Okay, and there is something of which our concept is solar system, and there is something of which our concept is life, and there is something of which our concept is life, and there is something of which our concept is consciousness, and there is something of which, etc., etc. All right. And the point of this stuff in the first 2 or 3 chapters of the book is that the nature of what really is harmonious. Okay, so if we are having, you know, if our concepts are in alignment with what is, then even though we're out picturing it in 3D world, that out picturing will be harmonious. Okay? And it's in that sense that Joel can heal. Because by eliminating the power of human consciousness, which believes in disharmony, he leaves room for a reflection which is truer, okay? So which is to say, if you're tuned into human consciousness, you're going to get an out-picturing which reflects good and evil and health and sickness and all the dualities. If you do not align yourself with human consciousness and align yourself with spiritual consciousness, you move to transcendental consciousness, then what's driving your mind is harmonious, and the picture will be harmonious. Whatever that looks like to you. Which, interestingly enough, is why people keep saying, well, how come the gurus, die of these terrible diseases, And the fact is that there was no disharmony in that for them. It just occurred to me when I said whatever harmonious looks like for you, to Joel, harmonious looked like he had to get out there and heal it, but for Robert, harmonious, it was inconceivable to Robert, but then it could not be exactly as it should be, perfectly harmonious. And Parkinson's had, nothing to do with disharmony. And with Ramana Maharshi, cancer had nothing to do with disharmony. He knew it wasn't real. He was backed off at that from such a level that it did not imply disharmony.
Did you guys want to?
No, we had, that's right, Andrew had the next question.
My question isn't really about healing. It's about, so I spend a lot of time trying to align what I'm learning with what is his intentions. And so things happen, and I think, okay, what is the lesson that I'm supposed to be learning from this? What is it? But by in that action, and I spent a lot of time doing this because a lot of very strange things have happened in the past year or two, and I have every time sort of come out and said, okay, wow, what a great opportunity, good, bad, indifferent, whatever it was. Like, wow, what is awesome, and I'm aligning. Being in that alignment has been very powerful. But by me thinking about that, about what am I learning from this, am I in the third dimension? So is that productive work for me or no? Should I just keep living in the what is? Or is there some other thing that I should be?
Well, we'll work out as long as we have to work out. You do not have to bring yourself into alignment with what is. You can't be out of alignment.
Yeah.
You can't be out of alignment with what is.
What I'm trying to do is shed the things that make me seem like I'm out of alignment with what
To you.
is. Sorry?
With the word.
To you.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Things
The
that make
small
you seem
I.
like you're out of alignment with what is to yourself.
Right.
No, the alignment includes the lessons. The fact is that every false belief you have in your consciousness is going to have to reflect out there in disharmony, okay? And the alignment of what is that your beliefs are picture. That's the alignment, and it's working perfectly. And it's working so perfectly that you get to see all your errors as well as all your truths. It's a self-correcting process, and you don't have to do anything about that. But when you're consciously on the path, it's easier. Mrs. Eddy used to say that we all grow either through science or suffering. She was the Christian Science founder, and so she means by science, she means Christian Science, In other words, knowing truth. So we grow spiritually either by knowing truth or suffering. But, of course, the great majority learn entirely by suffering. But that works.
It's so much better to learn, not from suffering, but the other way. I mean, that's a recent thing for me. But every time I do, I think, wow, that was so easy. I just sort of said something, and there it was.
I make myself unpopular in the morning meeting periodically, just for the fun of it, and point out to them that the steps work regardless of why you work them. They'll work if you work them because of pain, or they'll work if you work them because you want to avoid pain. So there's absolutely no need to be driven to your knees suffering before you work the steps. The steps don't care why you work them, they work, okay? And so does the universe.
I have a question what you were talking about, and a little thing come up to me before about I guess that you were talking about the healing consciousness, and I've heard, I understand what you're saying, and I've heard it said a few times in here about making the correlation that repressed anger, like you said, repressed anger causes cancer, or that it's the cause of all back pain and that kind of thing. And that always confuses me, especially when we start talking in terms of this. Like there is no body, there is no back, there is no, and so I get confused with that, and I find myself catching myself when some appearance comes up, wanting to correlate it to some reason, and I keep trying to catch myself because I know that's material consciousness. But I still get a little hung up on that, and I get confused. So I just was wondering why. I guess mostly what I've heard shared in here about that.
Both are true. Yes, that is just in human consciousness, and yes, in the 3D picture, repressed rage causes back pain. Okay, that's the way it appears to work. Now, if you could, in 1 second, get so high that you saw the truth, then none of that applies. See, what's true in human consciousness is not true in the presence of an enlightened consciousness, or not true in the presence of God. The statement is that there's no God in the human world. There is no God effective in the human world. God is effective where God is realized. Okay? So, and if you're in anger and repressing rage, you are not realizing God. You're in human consciousness. I mean, both are true. The point is that in the presence of a realized consciousness, first of all, when your consciousness is realized, then there won't be any anger or repressed rage. The other point is that in the presence of a realized consciousness like Joel, you can get lifted right out of that. Perhaps momentarily, perhaps permanently. Nobody said how long the people that Jesus healed stayed healed. Okay?
So if I'm in the 3D world, I'm susceptible to those things that, the repressed rage is going to cause me to have some physical condition if I'm in that consciousness. And I'm believing that.
If you're repressing, if that's who you are, if that's what you're doing. the human belief in repressed rage does not cause back pain in people who are not repressing their rage. You know, people who are acting out their rage, you know, are killing people and going to jail for it, but they don't have back pain. It's the people who are sitting on it. It's the people who are sitting on it who, but you know, which happen to be a particular personality for it.
Well, the thing that came to me when I was thinking about it is that, and how I made sense of it was that if I'm having anything that blocks me from, you know, from God or knowing the truth, like staying in resentment, what I found through initially working the program and then in more spiritual principles is those things block me from, you know, resentment, repressing things, all those things block me from experiencing the presence. And so that's how I made sense of it.
Yeah, that's why we went through those 6 weeks of list of stuff. That's the stuff that's blocking you. The stuff that you're angry about or fear or hate or love or desire or what have you. That's why we went through all that stuff. That's what's going on there. And that's also why we say that this is one leg of the stool, that you not only do you have to learn the truth, you also have to do your kid work and your trip work. Because the problem is that knowing this truth and getting really lofty is really nice, but then your kid erupts. Or you sit on your kid, or you have learned how to sit on your kid and keep it from erupting, in which case you break out in back pain. Okay? And I know people that have been teaching the infinite, well, Barbara taught the infinite way for 25 years and still was having, you know, script events with Edward until she had that revelation. And I know other infinite way teachers who've been teaching the infinite way for 40 years who throw tantrums, get downright petulant and childish, you know, and because they haven't done the script work and the kid work, because they don't need that. They're too holy for that.
Well, my experience with this exercise that we did, I spoke with you about
After
it.
the exercise, yeah. Let's talk about how we did with seeing hypnosis.
I always saying this world because Jesus said this world in my kingdom, but it's also in the big book in Africa. So it was kind of, in the beginning, like I had a really wonderful day and I was like, wow, everyone's just hypnotized. And I was looking at how messed up everybody was. And then like there's this one girl looking at me like I was a jerk. And I wouldn't even say anything. So what I realized was, and I spoke with you about this, was my hypnotism was seeing the hypnotism.
That's right.
And so I was not doing it. And so then the next day,
hypnotized, yeah.
I was hypnotized, but I wasn't in my kingdom, God consciousness. And then the next day I came crashing down like, oh man, now I'm hypnotized and there's nothing I can do about it. So then the next day I just kind of sat in the fact of, okay, well I'll just be hypnotized and I'll look at the hypnotism.
Yeah.
And then
it was a flashcard, just seeing the hypnotism, just right away. Yeah.
And that was a lot easier.
The flashcard was not to fix it, the flashcard was to label it correctly.
Right.
Yep, that's hypnotism.
So I did.
Yep, that's hypnotism. Yep, that's hypnotism. Yep, the rash is hypnotism. Yep, so is the elbow. Yep, that's hypnotism. Yeah. Are you done?
Yeah.
Yes.
I had an interesting experience with the exercise. When I left here last Monday, you commented about the flowers out here, and commented that the abundance of the flowers. And so my mind was thinking, you know, everything I see is carbon mind. But I didn't really do anything with that. I just kind of like, wow, okay, that's abundance. And I'm just trying to correlate those two. And then I went home, and a few days later, I picked up a Joel book and opened the page, and Joel talks about flowers. And he talks about the invisible life force within the flowers is what is the reality of the flower. And then what we see is a life force emanating itself as invisible life force. But the mind concept is whether or not I have any belief that the flower is good, or the flower is bad, or the flower will give me an allergy, or the flower will, you know, produce any type of effect. So it was just a really good exercise for me to, you know, to have an awareness of a life force being in reality and anything that I see that is not harmonious are to keep me from judging stuff.
Sure.
That's great, because you didn't say that the flower was beautiful, so that kind of clicked for me just there. That there's just complete harmony, not just with the expression of the flower rather than the flower itself.
Yeah, you can't have beautiful without creating ugly.
Right.
Right.
But we certainly could take joy in that silly Christmas cactus, being so awesome, I mean, it did look like God was showing off.
Yeah.
That flower over there is pretty spectacular, and I'm certainly not going to label it good or bad, but by God, it is beautiful. It is spectacular. And that's the kind of thing you would expect to see as you got closer and closer to being in communion with God. You would expect to see abundance and beauty. And don't smell that orchid in the center there. It smells